Welcome to Ground Control, and I have something cool to show you. I have the Eachine E120. This is the BO-105 micro helicopter. I believe this is a German military attack helicopter, maybe a scout helicopter. A lot of detail on that. It looks really cool. And this is going to be the first 4-blade main rotor system helicopter that I have flown. So awesome. This is courtesy of Banggood. I want to thank them much for sending this for review. They sent me the 3-battery version. I've got 1 battery in it. I've got 2 spares. I've already got them all charged up, ready to go. Absolutely awesome. So that's what comes in the box. You get the helicopter, you get the transmitter, you get the 1 battery version, the 2 battery version, or the 3 battery version. The links will be in the show notes for this helicopter. I've got the 3 battery version, awesome. It comes with an Allen wrench, a screwdriver, a spare tail rotor blade. You get 2 replacement main rotor blades, so don't break more than 2. And you get a USB cable to charge your batteries. The batteries have a little, I think that's a USB-B port on it, and USB cable which will attach to the battery to charge it up. I'll put a screenshot up on the computer for the battery. The battery has a power, it's a smart battery, it has a power button on it. You hold the power button in for 2 seconds to power the battery up. It has 4 blue LED lights on it, so depending on the charge level of the battery, when you're charging it, the battery that shows you the level of charge while it's charging will be flashing. Okay, so they call it the charging ladder because the blue light will move to the next position depending on the charge level of the battery, but it will be flashing while it's charging. Once the battery is fully charged, you'll have 4 solid blue lights on the battery. And it's got circuitry in it that's supposed to prevent you from draining the battery too low that it damages the battery. So good idea. I don't care for the proprietary batteries all that much, but that should protect the batteries from getting drained too low. All right, so the transmitter takes 4 AA batteries, and I already have my batteries in it ready to go. I've already bound up to it and made sure everything was working on it. And we'll go over the transmitter in a minute, but it comes with the manual. Everything is explained really well in the manual. It tells you, it tells you about the battery charging. It tells you about all the functions on the transmitter. It talks about all of the features of the helicopter, the specs on the helicopter. It also gives you information on how to manually arm the motors for manual takeoff, how to calibrate the gyro, how to do the 1-key takeoff and land. It also has the capability of changing from mode 1 to mode 2 or mode 2 to mode 1, which is awesome, because I know a lot of products come out where it's only 1 mode. All right, so it's nice that you can get mode 1 and mode 2 set up on the transmitter. But this is the Eachine E120. It says the rotor diameter size is 256 millimeter. The body length is 235 millimeters. The height is 80 millimeters. And it specifies the weight of 95 grams. Now I took mine with the battery installed in it, put it on the scale, and mine weighed 99.3 grams. So a little bit more than what they had specified. It uses a 2S LiPo, and it's a 350 milliamp hour. It says it takes about 60 minutes to charge it. It depends on how low you pull the battery. Now, I put the batteries on the charger when, when I first received it to charge them up. And it took about half that time because I had about half a charge in the battery, storage level charge. So it didn't take me that long. It says it has a flight time of 15 minutes, so that's pretty good. And so far with the micro helicopters that I have reviewed so far, they were pretty accurate in the amount of flight time that you were going to get from it. The remote control distance, it's for close proximity flying, something this small. But it has a range of between 80 to 100 meters. Now, if you fly this 80 to 100 meters away, that's really tiny, you know, in the air. I mean, you're not going to be able to see it very well that far away. So I went over everything that comes in the package, and like I said, you can choose the 1, 2, or 3 battery option. I want to thank Banggood again for sending me the 3 battery option. Okay, so binding. First, what you're going to do is you're going to power up your smart battery after you put your smart battery in your helicopter. Okay, you're going to have an LED light on the front of it. It's got an LED light on the front, and it's got one on the tail. And I'm not sure, it's got LED light fixtures on the sides. I'm not sure if those are working LED lights or not, but I know that the one on the front and the one on the tail are working. You got a white light on the front, a red one on the tail. That will help with orientation. So that is pretty darn cool. So when you first power it up, those will be flashing. Okay, and then you want to power up your transmitter. And then to bind to it, you're going to move the stick all the way up and then all the way down. Okay, and then you'll get a solid light on the transmitter. You should get a solid light on those LEDs, the front and the back, when the transmitter and the helicopter are bound up to each other. Okay, so, and then calibration. Now I always, if I receive something that comes with the gyro, the first thing I do before I put it in the air is calibrate the gyro just to be on the safe side. That way you're not going to have to worry about a bunch of drift and stuff when you're flying it. So in order to calibrate it, once you're bound to it, you know, move your stick all the way up, throttle stick all the way up, all the way down, you'll get a beep, you'll get a solid light on the transmitter, solid light on the LEDs on the helicopter, let you know it's bound. Okay, and then to calibrate the gyro, you want to hold the sticks, both of the sticks down to the lower left-hand corner, okay, and then you should get a beep after it's calibrated. Now, if you want to take off manually, and that's the way I typically like to do it, to take off manually, once you're bound, calibrate your gyro at least for the first time, and then to arm the motors, you want to hold both sticks down and out to the bottom corners, and then release your blade, your main rotor blade, and your tail rotor blade. The motors will start spinning. Okay, and then of course you use your throttle stick to lift off. Now, you can also do a 1-key takeoff and a 1-key land. So if you don't wish to manually arm the motors and then take off manually, all you have to do once you've bound to it is push the 1-key takeoff button. And the same thing if you want it to land, do auto land. When you're ready to land, just push the button again and it will go into auto land, or you can just use the throttle stick to manually land. Once it's on the ground, hold your throttle stick down for about 3 seconds, and then the motors will disarm and the motors will spin down, and then it's safe to go pick it up. Don't forget to do that. This one has not just a high rate and a low rate mode on the transmitter, it has 3 different rate modes. So I'm real curious to see how fast this little micro helicopter is. But it should give you a little more, you know, granularity over the modes. You know, how fast or how abrupt, how much angle, and you know, you get on the pitch roll axis with that. It has the trim buttons for the pitch, the roll, and the yaw, so you don't have to worry about that. And I think that's it. If you want to change it from mode 1 to mode 2, you basically hold down the 1-key takeoff, 1-key land switch button, hold it down, and then power up the transmitter. And if you're in mode 2, it will change it to mode 1. If you're in mode 1, it will change it to mode 2. And just, you know, change back and forth between modes, you just do the same thing. Hold down the button when the transmitter is off, power up the transmitter, and it will switch between mode 1 and mode 2. Okay, so this has attitude hold, so your throttle stick is you know, center spring, just like your control stick. Okay, one feature that this comes with that I had never heard of before, and it uses what's called optical flow. It uses an optical flow camera for position hold. And the helicopter has a little tiny camera on the bottom of it. It looks like a laptop camera. If you've ever looked, you know, closely at your laptop camera, that's what it looks like. It's a little button camera. But I didn't know what optical flow was, so I had to look it up. And so what it does, it uses visual data from the camera to determine the surface underneath it, you know, a pattern underneath it that it can hold in its visual field of view, I guess. So it processes that optical data from the camera to determine if the aircraft is drifting or not, and then correct it. Now, I would assume that how effective that's going to be is going to depend on what kind of surface you're flying over or you're hovering over. You know, because if you think of asphalt or you think of concrete, you're thinking of patterns that are the same. You know, no matter which way you move across it, they're the same. So I don't know how effective it would be over specific surfaces like that. I don't know if I'll be testing it over asphalt or concrete, but I think you'd run into the same problem with that dirt lane that I land on and take off on. I think it would do fine over grass, scrub, things like that. Something that it's hovering over where it can determine the pattern from the surface beneath it. And I think it would probably work very well with that. But we'll just have to test it and see. I don't know. I've never used that before. I think it's kind of cool that that feature came with such a small, inexpensive micro helicopter. So I'm really curious to see how well that works. So we'll figure that out when we take it out. But anyway, what I wanted to do was go ahead and power it on and bind to it so you can see that everything is working and see how the LED lights function. Okay, so we're going to hold down the button on the smart battery for 2 seconds. Okay, I'm showing 4 solid blue lights. I've got blinking LED. Yeah, it looks like the LED fixtures on the sides, they're just fixtures, but you got a working LED on the back and on the front. So that's pretty cool. It will definitely help with orientation. Okay, so now we'll power up our transmitter. Our transmitter light is blinking as well. So I'm going to move the throttle stick up and down. I got a beep. Okay, so I got solid light there. I got a solid light on the transmitter now. So now I am going to calibrate the gyro. Okay, so that's calibrated the gyro. Okay, now I'm just gonna manually arm the motors. Okay, so we are spinning. All right, so I don't have a real big area in here, so I think I'm just gonna lift it up off of the table and hover it for a couple of seconds. Okay. Ooh, that took off faster than I thought. Faster than I thought it would. Oh no. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna have to go get that in a minute and clean that mess up before my wife gets back. But anyway. Everything is working. Probably should have had it in low speed mode when I lifted up off the table in such a small area. But stay tuned. I'll be taking that to my flying field, my flying area, where we have a lot more room to test it out. But you can see that everything is working. And so stay tuned for that. All right, and we'll test everything out in the field as soon as I get a break in the wind. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the air.
What did you break?